Coming up on today's show.
So the first thing I would ask you is, do you know your most focused time of the day?
I'm sure there's all kinds of different ways people can come up with those top three, but
one of the things that we see all the time is we've become this sort of crazy society where people expect answers right away.
Getting your most important work done today on Keeping You Organized. Well, hello and welcome to Keeping You Organized. We got a lot of important work to get done today, so we're going to show you how to do that, and we're going to bring in a brand new podcast guest, first timer here, Jan Lehman, ctcproductivity.com.
Yeah, you got it right.
Keeping
Good.
You Organized. Glad you could come into the studio today. That was awesome. Jan is from the Twin Cities area, Minneapolis, St. Paul, but we'll talk more about her business a little bit later. But I'm intrigued about this. You know, getting the most important thing done probably assumes that we have lots to do and we can't do everything, right? And I know that your program, the CTC Productivity, really talks about three different areas. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So we typically say that we help individuals and teams maximize their three most important resources. So we say the three T's.
The three T's, okay.
The three T's. So one is time, so maximizing your time. Another of your resources is technology. So often companies just barely scratch the surface of using their technology.
Yeah.
And then the third is talent. So whether it be leveraging your most important talent in the areas where you should be working, and then leverage your team more fully. So effective delegation, communication, coordination.
Okay. Well, we want to get the most important things done, and where do we start with that? I guess how do we want to move forward in this discussion? Because there's probably a lot of different ways we can do that, right?
Yep. Yeah. I think time management, I would say we coach 99% of our clients on time management because there's some simple things people can do to really make a huge difference.
All right. Well, now we've had other podcasts on time management, and there are a lot of standard practices that people do. But what I've found in doing these interviews too, that there are differences. A lot of people have different techniques, and also one style may not work for you, but another style may. So let's talk a little bit about how does someone implement a time management system to begin with. I mean, how would you, if you sat down with me and I said, I'm not getting anything done, my time is all over the place, how would you kind of assess me and take me through that process?
Yeah, no, that's good. So probably, so the first thing I would ask you is, do you know your most focused time of the day? It's actually one of the very best interview questions you can do if you're interviewing a lot of people, because people who know their focus time are probably really good time managers. Because you want to know, so what's your focus time, John, if you had to guess?
Probably my most focused time is probably like 8 to 10 in the morning.
Yeah, it's pretty typical.
Yeah, that way I'm, pretty typical guy, but that's just because a lot of other people are kind of busy reading their email and not bothering me.
Yeah,
so,
right. Yeah.
But I know when my least effective time during the day is usually around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I start yawning a little bit.
Yeah.
My energy level's lower.
Yep.
So how do I manage with that?
Yeah, so it's perfect. So what you really want to do then is during your most focused time, so 8 to 10 is very typical for the vast majority of us, but during your most focused time, that's when you want to do the work where you really need to be really mentally on. So you're hyper focused. You know when you can write something and you write it perfect the first time, you don't have to revise it, maybe deep thinking, strategic work. But what happens often is people don't sort of protect that time slot like a mama bear. I mean, you want to protect it, block your calendar, tell your administrators if you have them not to schedule anything. And what happens is people allow other people to trump that time. And so many businesses are, into the whole open door policy, which is a wonderful thing, but there's a balance.
Right.
And so just simple interruptions are not important. Somebody can walk in your room when you're trying to actually get your work done. And if they ask you a question, even if it's not a crazy, thought-provoking question, it can set you back on average about 20 minutes. On what you were trying to do. So you think about, you take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward. It's really unproductive. So it's really important you know your most focused time, and you close your door, you do all the things you need to do to protect your time. And the second part of that that's critical is coming into work knowing your 3 most important priorities for the day.
Well, how do you set those up?
Well, oftentimes it's you need to sort of plan and look ahead.
Okay.
So sometimes it can be something that's due tomorrow, you need to prep. Sometimes it can be something coming up in 2 weeks, but you know it's going to take you 2 weeks to prepare. So obviously, so it's really looking at time and planning and looking out and looking at what's the right use of your time today.
Okay.
But what happens is people don't think about what's their most important work. They don't block their time, and typically they come in and people's natural tendency is to get right on email,
right.
and their day goes away, because often email is stuff you can do between 2 and 3 when you're brain dead, quite honestly.
Yeah, let's talk about, maybe you can use an example from one of your customers, because I'm sure there's all kinds of different ways people can come up with those top 3, but tell me about the system, the person you're thinking about who has the most disciplined and effective system. What do they use? Do they use a paper checklist? Do they use a digital calendar? What are they doing so that they know every morning when they hit that 8 a.m. or if that's their time, what their 3 top things are? Because I think that's part of the roadblock people have is, I know I need to do the top thing in that protected time, but how do I know what the top protected time is? So maybe you can use an illustration on that.
Yeah, it's a great question. So we always say that really there's kind of 3 places you have to look to figure out where your time should go. Okay. So your calendar is going to dictate. So looking ahead on your calendar and seeing what's coming up. Is there something on there that really has to be done today? Going through your to-do list. So a lot of people will have electronic to-do list or a paper to-do list where things are listed. And ideally, you list those in a way that your most important are sort of grouped together. Yeah. So you're going to look there. Is there anything on my to-do list that's not on a specific day? And then there's the paper to-do list, right? There's the pile of stuff. Typically, those are your 3 areas where you've got, and then your inbox as well. Yes. If you're managing your inbox correctly, your inbox should be your to-do list. So you have a couple places to look, and making then those decisions on looking at hard dates, and again, looking at how long a task might take, that help dictate, plus the importance and like the impact. So you want to pick the Pareto principle, is pick the item that will have the biggest impact, not just miscellaneous tasks.
Okay, let's talk now. I want to get an example here. So talk about one of your clients. You don't have to use their name or what industry or whatever, but talk about them going through that process and how they are successful at that.
Okay. Well, I would say one of my clients, can I tell our success we had with the client?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So we actually worked with a client and only focused on time management, purely time management, nothing else, of the 3 T's. Yep. And he really morphed the way he worked, and he's projecting that he's going to bill now $75,000 more every year going forward. And he only invested $2,000 in us, so huge impact. So the things we did with him is, again, make sure he had a really clear way of knowing what are his tasks he needed to do on his particular projects. Yep. Again, teaching him he needs to have a time of day when he's looking forward on his calendar. Yes. And then also meeting with his team to understand what is it that they need him to get done that will not delay them, because that by default becomes some of his important work. So it's, again, looking at those different segments and then making a smart decision where your time goes. But you have to have those tools and be good about maintaining those tools. Does that answer it?
Perfect. Yeah, and good. I think that's where the word management comes in the term time management.
Oh,
because there's a lot of that. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get more tips, behind the scenes strategies here on time management as part of our getting your most important work done. And we'll be right back. Now there's a place just for you. Life can be busy, and you still have to keep it all together. That's why you like to be organized and in control. Introducing MyOrganized.life, a special place where you can get ideas and solutions to organize what's important to you, your important papers, your important decisions, your important life events. We show you the ideas and products to stay organized in your life. See what's new. Stop by and say hello. Visit us at any time at www.myorganized.life. It's just for you. MyOrganized.life by Smead. Find us at www.myorganized.life. MyOrganized.life. We're back now on Keeping You Organized, talking about getting your most important work done, those things that have to be done. And we're kind of camped out on time management right now as one of the ways to do that. We're with Jan Lehman, ctcproductivity.com. And so before the break, we were talking about we figured out where our zone is, right? Our kind of most productive zone, and that's when we want to do this work. We kind of touched on how we, manage our time as far as protecting the time, and also looking forward to what we have, the next day or two, working with our teams. So what other aspects of time management haven't we covered yet?
Okay, yeah. So one of the things that we see all the time is we've become this sort of crazy society where people expect answers right away. Yep. And so what we'll oftentimes tell our clients is, are you an emergency room surgeon? Yeah. Like really, and that sort of zaps them into reality, and they're like, well, no. And I'm like, well, then if an email were to come in from a client and you're trying to do your most important work, it really typically can wait, right? A couple hours. But people, we've just created this society where people expect immediate answers. So oftentimes we're trying to introduce with companies a culture of productivity and get them to think about what is an acceptable response time policy for internal and external communication. So again, you're not trumping your most important work just to be responding quickly on emails.
Yeah. I want to go back to so we have our protected time. Let's say it's 8 to 10 in the morning. Now, at my previous position, I'd have people like banging on my door at 9:59, like, hey, your 2 hours is up. My protected time, we've got to talk to you now. How do you transition out of that? Do you kind of schedule or plan something that happens right after that productive time to deal with kind of those crisis emergencies that people have been waiting patiently for 2 hours to deal with?
It's a good question. So this is my little prop that we sort of will recommend to clients. So it basically close your door, block your schedule, and put a sign up. And again, often this needs to start with the higher ups and not the junior person, because is it acceptable? But you're basically saying it's my focus time, and I'll be available at 10, right? Okay, again, seriously, I'm not an emergency room surgeon. Right. So your question, my response can wait for an hour or 2 hours, but I'll be available, so don't panic. And just like with our children, we would say when they're growing up, you can interrupt me if a house is on fire or you're bleeding. Certainly there are times, but for the most part, really most things can wait. And again, it's the big thing here is introducing this new concept within a whole company of it's really acceptable. Everybody wait just a little bit on getting back.
Yeah. So back to time management, and we've kind of talked about managing other people. What else do you do with the other 6 hours of the day? Or how do you, in your mind, think about how you're managing are you still trying to get your most important things done, or are you going on items number 4 through whatever on your list? How do you deal with the rest of the day in a balanced perspective?
No, that's a good question. So you should be trying to do your most important work. But what happens often is if people don't have a plan for the day to say their 3 most important, is you might leave feeling like you didn't get everything done you should have. And that's a horrible feeling. It's a really deflating feeling. Yeah. So it's good to kind of know, okay, I've got to get 3 things done, so I know I really moved the pennies forward, and I'm going to block this time so I can do it. And anything on top of that is bonus, right? So then, yes, you continue down that trajectory of looking at your places that are going to dictate your most important work. It's your calendar, your to-do list, your inbox. But then it's a matter of then scheduling your day as it makes sense. So definitely if you have individuals that report to you, you're on project teams, you need to be available to those folks. Right. And definitely, I know a lot of people have moved away from meetings because they're not very well facilitated. That could be a whole topic as well, John. Right. And so what happens often is that people avoid meetings, but honestly, a meeting is a really great use of time. And instead of all the miscellaneous interruptions, it's having a well-facilitated meeting with your team to say this is our time to answer any questions, discuss complex issues, and to make decisions on who owns what. So structuring your day in the right way for those sort of communications makes sense. Yeah.
Now here, my team is about 7 people, and what we do is every Monday morning at about 9:30, we have our team meeting, and we do a thing called the Big 3, which sounds very similar to this. And everybody writes down on a piece of paper. And they have a little thing. It's got 3 boxes on it, and you write what are the 3 most important things you're working on this week. Perfect. And then we share it with everybody, because someone might say, "Oh, I'm working on this project." Well, then that affects this person
Yeah,
over here.
that's perfect.
So it's a really nice tool. It's very simple, and what is your next step, and do you have to wait on anybody? But it also helps me as a manager be able to know what are the 3 big things of all my people.
Yeah, that's perfect. That is perfect.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes there are interdependencies, right? Where you're like, oh, well, I better reserve some time to review that because we know I have to review it before it goes out. So it helps you plan your time better.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, I know we're going to also talk about email. We're not going to be able to do it in this episode, so can I bring you back next time to talk about getting your most important things done via email as well?
I'd love it. Yeah,
okay,
that'd be great.
Before we go, tell us a little bit about CTC Productivity and how people can get a hold of you.
Sure. So we're based in the Twin Cities, but we do phone coaching all the time. Currently, I have clients in New York, Atlanta, a lot of different places. We work anywhere with solopreneurs all the way up to Fortune 100 level executives.
Okay.
And like we said, we focus on the 3 T's. So we focus on maximizing your most important resources: time, technology, and talent, yours and your team's. And the phone number is 651-243-0089. Or you could go to our website, ctcproductivity.com, and go to our contact page and reach me through there.
Awesome. Well, Jan, we're going to have you back next time because we're still trying to get our most important things done. We at least got the time management part. But come back next time. We'll talk about email management in our next episode of Keeping You Organized.